your passengers, screening your riders, the people getting into your car. It's a very, very important topic, right? And it works a little differently with rideshare drivers versus private drivers or limo drivers or drivers for hire, right? There's different type of screening processes, because the number one thing is your safety. You as the driver, the number one thing is your safety, right? Now, the companies are doing basically zero when it comes to screening. It's not like Airbnb where they check the person that is about to order that Airbnb in a specific city. They do a brief background check. If everything matches up, there's no criminal records and no nonsense on that individual, Airbnb will put the client, the potential client, together with the homeowner. Now, with rideshare or the gig world, there are no background checks for passengers and riders, right? So there's literally no screening. Anybody can get into your car, way too easy. You don't have to have photos, you don't have to have a name, you can have a made-up name, and you can go out and get a prepaid card. So to recap, screening done by gig companies is non-existent, doesn't exist. Anyone can get on the platform. This is where you come in. This is where your street smarts come in, right? Now, as a rideshare driver, if you are in a certain area, if your gut tells you, nah, this is not the best place to pick up a rider or a passenger, cancel, you move on. Your safety first. Always follow your gut. That's probably the best screening process right there, is your gut instinct, right? Then there's other things you can look out for, right? You got to be aware of the surroundings when you pick up people. Do you see a gun holster? Do you see a knife? I saw a guy once with a machete strapped to his leg, right? I noticed it underneath his baseball pants. So you can screen them visually. Your dash cam hopefully will catch them visually, right? But still, it's you, the individual, that has to do the work, right? Now, if you're in an area where they're prostitutes or they're drug dealers, and someone orders your Uber and a Lyft, is that a good idea to let them in? Probably not, right? So the environment where people are in, you know, people on street corners, possible dealers, you can vibe out the situation very, very quickly. You screen them again, your gut will tell you something's off, don't do it, follow your instinct. Now, with private drivers for hire, limo drivers, I made this video now because I probably made one of the biggest mistakes in my 8 or 9 years of running a limo company as a private driver. I have hundreds and hundreds of clients, probably 350 clients, right? 5 of them billionaires, tons of musicians, rock groups, rappers, CEOs, sports stars, NBA players, NFL players, hockey players, you name it, right? And when I see the name, I can vibe them out. Okay, it's legit, right? If I get a referral by a professional, it's usually a very good referral. If it's a family referral to a family referral, it's a good referral. But then I made a huge mistake, which I have to take blame for, right? About a year ago, somebody came through the web and said, hey, I'm flying in whatever from Boston. I need your services, right? And what I did is fine. Said it was a lady. I'd pick her up, take her to, I think it was Calabasas, and very well dressed, very articulate, very young, probably 21, 22, and a lot of cash on her. So, you know, cash is king in our world. Somebody pays you $150, $200 for a short trip. I mean, you've provided the service, you deserve the money, right? And sometimes it's just once-off clients. Sometimes they'll book you 2 or 3 times. Sometimes they'll book you a lot. Now, this individual, I'm not going to mention the because I just filed lawsuits. I just had to get restraining orders. I just had to file copyright infringements and man, the amount of money I spent in a matter of 1 week on this one individual, I've lost all the money that I made from her, right? And I made several $1,000s for all the trips that I supplied to this individual, to this lady, right? All the trips that I drove her from here to here, from here to her clients. This lady still is a prostitute, a high-class escort. The trips to her clients, the trips to CVS, the trips to restaurants, you name it, right? I got paid for. And she paid well, and sometimes she was generous, and sometimes she was very giving with her tips. I got to hand her that. But I did not know the individual well enough. I had not done my homework, right? And biggest mistake is that I spoke about my private life, that I'm married, that I have children. She would tell me about her brothers and sisters, her past, her parents on the East Coast in Boston, and so on, right? Then one day I get up to Calabasas to pick her up. I see there's an issue with the landlord. I happen to have a private conversation with her landlord. I think Michael was his name, and he warned me. He warned me of this individual, right? 1 or 2 things transpired. I went down to the police station, asked some cops to go by there, and I cut the individual off. That's it, right? It's not worth the money when you see future problems, right? And what I'm saying is the cardinal rule here is that, if it's a high-class escort or a prostitute or a drug dealer, you shouldn't be taking them, right? Because you may face a lot of future issues and problems like I did. So I went against my cardinal rules. I went against the basic rules that I put out there and advised drivers. I went against it. So I effed up. This individual, small as the universe is, cut out the problems from the past. I like that, Leo Casamento. That's a powerful statement right there. The problem is I did cut out a future problem, but the problem came back to haunt me 8-9 months later. This individual sex worker, as my former wife's husband refers to her, they hooked up, right? Now, one does not know if they had sex or whether they just met up on a dating site or a website, as this lady says, but they met and they spoke, and they started to terrorize my wife and my family in not the nicest way. Use a lot of photos you can get from other channels, Facebook, got the address, came by, sent people by, and that's when the South African part in me comes out. Game on, right? Because my South African past, it's a tough environment. You have to fight fire with fire, and so I decided to fight fire with fire, right? Got attorneys involved, filed restraining orders, filed criminal cases, filed civil cases, filed copyright claims. And what I do then is I spend the money. I don't hold back, because the safety of my cameras, neighborhood patrol, hired them all, because I'm not going to take a chance what the psycho individual could do, to kids, right? To kids or to the wife. So you have to take precautions. And although I had screened this individual, although I had known what business this individual was in, I made the mistake of doing trip after trip, providing transportation services and getting paid, and made a lot of money. At some point, this individual wanted the money back. and said if I didn't return all the money that she spent on me, she would come and break the windows. Threat. So the police get involved, right? So I'm saying it's taking up a whole week of my time, a lot of money, because I effed up once. I let my guard down and I allowed this individual into my client portfolio, which is stellar. It's all just A-listers, right? And here I have a Z-lister suddenly in the mix, causing havoc, extorting, threatening, right? 22-year-old African-American female from Haiti, right? And then you just got to go on the offense, right? And I know going on the offense worries this individual because they have other cases in other cities like Las Vegas and others, right? So, but the stupidity, the jealousy drives these individuals to do stupid things like come by your house at 4 a.m. in the morning, send you gift cards, send you letters, right? And you have to deal with it. So big lesson learned here. Had to spend a lot of money to fix a problem, but it's you know, I see it as a business expense, right? And it might sound silly, but it is a business expense. The only sad thing is that a 22-year-old would want to terrorize, you know, scare my children or my wife. You ain't gonna scare me. She knows who she is. The ex-husband ain't gonna scare me because he does not know the type of caliber person he's dealing with, right? I have dealt with other people in the past. You guys may be aware of a few people that I have dealt with, right? I shut them down systematically, very quickly, and sadly, you have to pay money sometimes. You don't do anything illegal. Never make threats, my friends. The other day, I was dealing with a deactivation, and the driver found out which rider. He found out the rider's address and started making threats against the passenger because he was wrong. And I said, you do not threaten that rider. Please do not threaten you. It's going to end up horribly. Just because they got you deactivated doesn't mean you have to go back and harm them or threaten them or retaliate. You don't have to go down that road, right? You can have people's citizenship revoked. You can do so much paper-wise and authority-wise and legal-wise in civil courts, in criminal courts, that their life becomes a nightmare. They're basically karma. They get what they deserved, right? And I'm sorry to say to this individual, because she is posting videos of me using my pictures, my materials, just stupid shit, right? Is that within the next 14 days, 7 to 14 days, she will quickly realize how all her resources will dry up money-wise. All her outlets on social media will dry up, right? And you systematically shut the individual down. I worked in the South African Defence Force in the intelligence division for 3 years. Been there, done that, know a lot. I worked with Interpol people, I worked with detectives, I worked with district attorneys. You know, I was in the army, and I had a very interesting position in the army. Let's just leave it at that way. I was, worked with intel and intelligence. So I learned a lot, right? And I learned a lot how to deal with these type of threats in South Africa. Didn't think in my wildest dreams that a 22-year-old would come in and start trying to infiltrate and terrorize my family. So screening, red flags, red alerts. Thank you so much. That's super kind of you. I'm just going to shut off my navigation right now. DC in the house throwing $10 down. Much appreciated. High class escorts are illegal in the United States. We were in Netherlands. Yeah, in the Netherlands they're allowed, right? And that's another thing. The funny thing is I have the entire list. I have the entire list of all her clients, right? And that should worry the individual, because the police can do a lot with that, right? And if she is set up, if she walks into a trap, and the police will lay a trap for her, right? That's just how they are. I helped the police arrest another woman who was wanted in 5 states. She was briefly in my Uber. We shut her down. I cooperated with the police, and they arrested her thanks to the intel that I provided to the police. It's the same thing here. People don't think it through. People don't look at the big picture. They act wacko and out of control, and it comes to bite them, and they pay big time. It's not worth it. You know, you hopefully learn as you go through life from your mistakes. Some people make a lot of mistakes at a very young age, and they don't learn, right? So sadly, this individual is going to learn very, very hard in the next few days, right? And videos, pictures, doesn't have any videos of me. He's just using pictures to make videos. It doesn't worry me. I'll have that all taken down within a week, right? Because it's very, very easy to prove to YouTube, to other websites, how people are misusing and abusing your information. Just like Travis Kalanick and executives were misusing and abusing the system, and there was a heroic whistleblower, McGran, who stepped forward, and the company's in turmoil. The stock's already going down. They're on the defense, because all of this information was leaked out. If you have hard evidence, it counts in your favor, right? And I would not be surprised if Travis Kalanick would get jail time, potentially Dara Khosrowshahi as well, right? But if you're in the field of dealing drugs, if you're in the field of prostitution, it all catches up. You know, you make good money. You know, some of these high-class escorts fly out to Vegas, make $10,000, $15,000 on a weekend. It all catches up. One day you come across the wrong person that doesn't tolerate your nonsense, and they shut you down. So my bad. I own it. I own it for not screening the individual. And that is why I made the video, because it's always good if you can base a story, or if you can base advice on your own personal experience. And I'll tell you that my experience in the last week, you know, meeting with police, paying for attorneys, running background checks on individuals, running background checks on my on my wife's former husband, on this illegal call girl. I mean, you get a wealth of information, and there is a well of information out there. There's a wealth of information out there if you pay for services. You can go to websites, you can hire a detective. You know, there's so much you can do to gather dirt on individuals. And when I used to do big deals, 500,000, couple of $1 million deals, I would always do my homework. I would screen the individual that I was doing business with. And sometimes I did not enter business agreements. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Flip, I appreciate you. Thank you. Australia, much love to Australia. Let's give a huge shout out to Australian friends. They're in the house right now. I appreciate you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you kindly, as a rideshare driver, as a private driver, always vibe the person out, check the person out, screen the person optically, you know, visually, get them on the cam, get the audio, remember what they're telling you. If there's certain verbiage during a trip that you feel uncomfortable with, if there's sexual harassment, if there are threats, if there is extortion, end it. End it. End the trip. End the relationship. Rideshare Professor Torsten made a huge mistake by allowing this 22-year-old African-American girl into his life. And in the beginning, I can tell you, she was really sweet. She was nice, right? I thought, this is a really nice individual. I gave her solid advice. I helped her. Everything I told her was helpful to her, right? Because as a person 30 years her senior, I can pass on very good advice to this individual, which I did. This was used against me, and that I do not appreciate. And when you involve my children, or if you scare my children or my wife, it's game on. Flamethrowers come your way, right? You do not want that, because you can dry out a person financially. You can get them kicked out the country. There's so much you can do if you have access to the right people and if you have access to money. I have spent money. I will keep on spending money, and I will activate every authority. It will rain paperwork until the individual either apologizes, right, or says, hey, you know what, I fucked up. What I did was not good. And I always give a person a second chance, always. That's how I am, right? I always give a person a second chance if they show remorse or if they own up and say, hey, I screwed up. Even with my wife's former husband, I have no problem meeting with the guy, right? I mean, he has kids with my wife. Those are his biological children. He should be involved. I would never deny any father, would never ever deny any father access to their children, right? I have children, he has children, right? I am not the father of his children, but I can provide the safety for his children. And he hooks up with this individual and starts basically terrorizing his own children, his own family. And that is not cool. So I hope this individual reaches out to me or texts me, right? I don't want to reveal his name. I will gladly meet with him. I'm not afraid, right? The stuff I've been through in life would make his head curl, would make her head curl, right? There were things in life, obviously I work for a government that I did not want to do, right? I can tell you that I did not want to do. But at some point, if you're a government property, right? You're government property. And when you step out of that arena and you're no more government, we got to know what's wrong or right as an individual. We got to know what is wrong, what is right. That is why this whistleblower came out and said it was wrong. It was wrong for these companies to expose all these drivers to major violence, to safety issues, put them in harm's way. Many drivers died, many drivers were hurt because of Travis Kalanick and individuals, right? We really need to do a reality check here, folks. Fake news, fake bullshit aside, what is wrong, what is right in life? Do you have any morals or values? Well, if you do, tap into those morals and values and you will lead a very, very happy life. If you want to break the law, if you want to threaten people, if you want to do harm, your life is short. Your lifespan is short. Do what you do to others, what you expect to be done to yourself, right? I always watch people the way they treat dogs. Are they kicking the dog? Are they hurting the dog? Are they hurting an animal? It tells me a lot. It tells me a lot about an individual, right? So treat others the way you wish to be treated. Make sure you understand the difference between wrong and right. Make sure you understand that after you've screened that rideshare rider or passenger, you know it's a good person or a bad person. Make sure you have screened that private client, right? I had Harvey Weinstein in the car 3 times, kicked him out on the 3rd time. Didn't even know his history. This was all before his court stuff. I just knew I had a bad individual in the car and I cut him off, right? I had this high-class prostitute in the car for several months and then I cut her off, because when you vibe people and your gut tells you over and over again, this is wrong, something is wrong, you need to cut ties. You get rid of the virus. So I beg you, I ask you, kindly screen your passengers, screen them, many ways to screen them. We've gone through that. The companies are not screening the people for you. They allow anyone and everyone on the platform. Domestic violence, people with criminal backgrounds, carjackers, murderers, people that stab and shoot drivers. Everything is in your backseat. You just need to know what is in my backseat. You need to be able to screen these people, right? So I gave you a couple of pointers how to screen riders, passengers in a rideshare vehicle, Uber, Lyft, Bolt, Ola, any other gig job. Mary, thank you. Thank you for throwing down $5 live. Live and learn. You do. You live and learn, Mary. In life, you live and learn. Just like you learned from your private clients the other day. Remember the story you told me about that woman who tried to use you and abuse you? You learn from that and you cut them off, Mary. So don't allow a virus or a problem into your car. It's not going to end well. Learn from me. I just had to get a whole bunch of attorneys, meet with authorities, meet with police, meet with detectives. I don't mess around. I have the money to pay for these individuals, right? And it's money, in my eyes, well worth spent. And contacted all these websites where they're active, on Ashley Madison, Tinder, all of these sites, that the names that were dropped, and I remembered all of them. So I systematically dry out the well. And I gave the individuals 24 hours to do some spring cleaning, apologize, and show at least a little bit of remorse. Nothing. And because of that, you have to fight fire with fire. It's just the way it is, right? If you ever need some good advice on that, if you've ever been bullied, manipulated, pushed around by a narcissist, come to me. I have a degree in psychology. I know how to deal with these individuals. I have a very strong background in the intelligence in the South African Defence Force. I know how to shut these people down. I have amazing legal experts, friends all around the country that I hook up with drivers all the time, either class action attorneys or accident attorneys or civil attorneys or criminal attorneys. I have referred thousands of drivers, thousands, to attorneys so that they get representation. Sometimes they pay the attorneys, sometimes it's done on contingency, for example, with class action attorneys. But never be afraid to come to the Rideshare Professor and ask for help. That is the nature, that is my nature, that is my channel. I'm here to help drivers, gig workers, and couriers and food delivery drivers, right? Please never be shy to ask for help. I've helped, I've lost count how many drivers I've helped out of situations. I've helped 2 drivers that wanted to commit suicide. I talked for hours and hours with them because their families requested that I call them, and I talked them out of it, and they have a healthy relationship today. That is the nature of my personality. I love to help. I love to help people. I love to lift people up. I love to empower people. I love to encourage people. I love to teach people, coach people how to navigate and climb the ladder and increase the quality of your lifestyle, the quality of your living, right? So that's my background. That's my education in coaching, business degree, and psychology degree. So if I can help you, allow me to help you. You have a friend, a phone call away, an email away. I get 300 messages a day. I try to get back to the majority of the people that contact me. So I'm going to leave you on that note. I really want you to pay attention to screening rideshare riders, and also to friends that I've helped build their own companies like Thomas Gibson. Please always be on the alert and screen your private clients. I made a big mistake. I allowed a virus into my network of really, really, really good clients, right? Really good people. You know, sometimes it just takes one sour apple. You can have this amazing fruit basket of fresh pineapples, mangoes, apples, pears, bananas, and then you have one sour apple in the midst, right? Can happen. We're not bulletproof. We're not immune to it. We are humans. We're not robots. It can happen. So I'm telling you right now, always, always listen, watch, observe, and have your gut make the decision. Peace out, everyone. Love you all. Much, a lot of gratitude from California, and be safe out there. Please be safe out there. Thank you and take care. And on your way out, smash that like button. And again, as you're driving around, as you're navigating in your city, right? And if you are in areas, please, if you are in areas where you feel uncomfortable, if you are stopping at a traffic light and you see drug deals go down, if you see prostitution and you just do not feel right in that area, or people are watching your car or observing every move of yours, cancel and get yourself out of the situation. And if need be, you have 911, you have access to the police. Keep yourself safe at all times. Now, my Starbucks here is closed, sadly. Just realize it's already 9 o'clock, right? It's 9 o'clock. So thank you everyone for listening. I also know that the individuals that I brought up, no names mentioned in this video, I wouldn't show their pictures, I wouldn't show their names. They know who they are. They have my number. If they feel like, hey, you know what, we need to bury this, or this needs to come to an end, and you want to save some face and you want to save yourself a lot of money and a lot of headaches and a lot of paperwork, call me. I mean, don't call me, text me. I will meet with you. I'm not afraid, right? So grab the bull by the horns, never be afraid, never be cowardice or walk away or shove a problem aside, because the problem is going to reemerge. You have to take the problem on. Grab the bull by the effing horns and say, hey, enough is enough. Do you realize what you're doing here? Do you realize that you're messing up your future, right? So God bless you all. Thank you, and please stay safe out there.